Today, we're diving into the weird world of the Children of God cult, a group that blurred the lines between spirituality and exploitation. It's a roller coaster of crazy beliefs, charismatic leaders, and some seriously messed up stuff. Buckle up for a deep dive into a story that's as strange as it gets. David Brandt Berg, also known as King David, Mo, Moses, and Grandpa to his followers, was the founder and leader of the cult generally known as the Children of God, and subsequently known as the Family International. You'll see they go through a bunch of different names. Berg's group, founded in 1968 among the counterculture youth in Southern California, gained notoriety for incorporating sexuality into its spiritual message and recruitment methods. The group has gone under a number of different names since its inception, including Teens for Christ, the Children of God or COG, the Family of Love, or simply just the Family. According to the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation, at its height, the Family movement had tens of thousands of members, including River and Joaquin Phoenix, Rose McGowan, and Jeremy Spencer. The Family International initially spread a message of salvation, apocalypticism, spiritual revolution and happiness, and distrust of the outside world, which the members called the system. Like some other fundamentalist groups, it foretold of the coming dictator called the Antichrist, the rise of a brutal one-world government, and eventually overthrow by Jesus Christ in the second coming. So this is what they believed in. They just kind of mixed in a lot of weird undertones with this stuff too, which we're about to get to. In 1976, it began a method of evangelism called flirty fishing that used sex to show God's love and mercy and win converts, resulting in a ton of controversy. The family's founder and prophetic leader, David Berg, who adopted the name Moses David while in Lauderdale, Canada, and was also referred to as Father David by a bunch of members, gave himself the titles of King, the Last End Time Prophet, Moses, and just David. Berg communicated with his followers via Mo letters, which were letters, instructions, and counsel on myriad spiritual and practical subjects until his death in 1994. Basically, he didn't really have a lot of face-to-face connections with people. He would mainly just communicate with all of his followers and other people mixed throughout the family in basically these Mo letters, which were just handwritten letters and stuff, you know? After his death, his widow, Karen Zerby, became the leader of the family, taking the title of Queen and the Prophetess. Now, Zerby married Steve Kelly, also known as Peter Amsterdam, which was an assistant of Berg's, whom Berg had handpicked as her consort, basically as her new man, which was just weird. Yeah, so he basically chose her new man for whenever he was going to die. I don't understand this, but anyways, getting back to it. Kelly took on the title of King Peter and became the face of the family, speaking in public more often than either Berg or Zerby. There have been multiple allegations of child sexual abuse made by past members against multiple people in this place, okay? Berg preached a combination of traditional Christian evangelism with elements popular with the counterculture of the 1960s. There was much of an end-of-the-world imagery found in the book of Revelation of the New Testament, preaching of impending doom for America and basically for the rest of the world, and the ineffectiveness of established churches already. Berg urged a return to early Christian community described in the Bible's book of Acts, in which believers lived together and shared all, resembling communal living of the late 1960s hippies. Now, basically how I want to do the rest of this video is, first, we're going to go through all the iterations of the Children of God cult, by names, by years. And then I want to talk about the actual guy who started it, David Berg. And then after that, we're going to go through some of the criticisms and some of the rumors, I guess, of stuff that have happened within this cult. First, we're starting off with the actual cult and their name iterations, since it changed a lot over the years. The Children of God, 1968 to 1977. The founder of the movement, David Brandt Berg, was a former Christian and Missionary Alliance pastor. Berg and his family founded the organization Teens for Christ, operating out of the Light Club Coffee House in Huntington Beach, California in 1968. It was while they were camped in Lewis and Clark Park that a news reporter first called them the Children of God. In 1969, after having a revelation that California would be hit by a major earthquake, he left Huntington Beach and took his followers on the road with him. They would take to the streets and start distributing pamphlets. Leaders within Children of God were referred to as the Chain. Members of the Children of God, or COG, ended up founding communes, first called colonies. They're now referred to just as homes in various cities. Berg communicated with his followers by writing letters. He published nearly 3,000 letters over a period of 24 years, referred to as the Mo letters. In a letter written in January 1972, Berg stated that he was God's prophet for the contemporary world. Attempting to further solidify his spiritual authority within the group, Berg's letters also contained public acknowledgement of his own failings and weaknesses. At least he's real on that part, I guess. Hey, if you can admit your flaws, whatever, I guess that's cool with me, but I don't know. The rest of this whole thing is weird, bro. In 1972, a Mo letter reportedly entitled "Flee as a Bird" was intercepted by some members such as Ruth Gordon as a warning to leave America. God was going to destroy the US and we had to get out. This, along with the pressure members felt that parents were trying to rescue children who had joined, encouraged members to migrate abroad, first to Europe, then eventually to Latin America and East Asia. This was their big plan. By 1972, COG stated it had 130 communities around the world. By the mid-1970s, it had colonies in an estimated 70 countries. Bro, that is ridiculous, okay? The BBC even reported that apparently COG had around 10,000 members worldwide at the time, which is a ridiculous number for a cult. Like, remember, this is not like an established religion or anything that has like long-standing ties. Like, this is one dude's idea, bro, that is just going crazy. 10,000 people? That is ridiculous. In 1976, Berg had introduced a new way to get people into the cult with a new method called flirty fishing, which encouraged female members to show God's love through sexual relationships with potentially basically converting people. And yeah, this was practiced starting in 1973 by Berg's inner members, and then it was just common around regular membership in 1976, which is why he was trying to basically just encourage, like, yo, hey, I don't know, maybe you should use what you got. That's like fucked up. Like, that's disgusting, because you feel me? I don't know how old these people are. I don't know what ages these people are. At this point, I don't think he even cares. He's just saying, like, yo, go out there and just recruit, get more people to join us. Yeah, and that's just under the name Children of God. Like, we still got like 5 more iterations of names. The Family of Love from 1978 to 1981. In 1975, after letting everyone know via one of his letters that his mistress, Mama Maria, real name Karen Zerby, gave birth to the so-called Jesus baby, as his cult called babies born within the cult. That's just what they called every baby that was born within the cult. It's a Jesus baby. And basically, yeah, he was letting everybody know that they were changing their name. In what Berg called the Reorganization Nationalization Revolution, or R&R, Berg reorganized the movement for dismissing more than 300 leading members after hearing unspecified reports of serious misconduct and abuse of their positions. Now, I don't know, like, I guess that's like a good thing, but at the same time, I'm like thinking, like, bro, this was probably your doing. Like, you were telling people to, like, fuck, to get people to join. And like, you didn't think anybody was gonna abuse that? I don't know. In my mind, I'm like, okay, word, he got rid of some people. Like, he's kind of real for that. But everything else is kind of just like, dude, you're setting up your own problems just to fix these. Like, I don't know if I really fuck with that at all. I think you're still weird as hell. The group was also accused of sexually abusing and raping minors within the organization, and considerable evidence to support this claim was found. 1/8 of the total membership left the movement. Those who remained became part of a reorganization movement called the Family of Love, and later just the Family. The majority of the group's beliefs just remained the same though, so there was basically no change. The Family of Love era was characterized by international expansion. After 1978, the flirty fishing decreased a lot. A Mo letter from 1980, for example, headlined, "The devil hates sex, but God loves it." So he was still kind of out there setting stuff up, but he was kind of trying to tame that down a little bit, you know? In some areas, flirty fishers even used escort services to try to meet potential new converts. According to the Family, over 100,000 received God's gift of salvation through Jesus, and some chose to live the life of discipline and missionary as a result of flirty fishing. Apparently, according to the Family's statistics, or whatever they were using to kind of calculate this, even though I'm calling cap on this number, they're thinking over 100,000 people joined because of flirty fishing. In other words, they fucked 100,000 people into joining a cult. Like, what? Bro, think of that. That's disgusting, and that's fucking ridiculous that people just fall for that. Like, yo, like, are you kidding me? That's all it takes? You just gotta fuck people, and then they'll believe, like, oh, dude, David? Yeah, that's the reincarnation, brother. That's the second coming right there. Hell yeah. Oh, she fucked you too, huh? Yeah, I'm part of the family now, cuz. Like, bro, are we kidding right now? Like, this is some I don't know, bro. This is some real movie shit. Like, there should be a movie on this if there isn't one already. And that's not even the worst part. Researcher Bill Bainbridge obtained data from the family suggesting that from 1974 until 1987, members had sexual contact with 224,000 people. Like, oh my god, like, yo, that is a ridiculous number, because that's almost 250,000 people that the family was out here just piping. Like, that is insane. I don't know. I mean, I guess I respect the hustle. Like, hey, if they're willing to do all that, like, I don't know. Like, I don't think I believe in anything that much to do all that shit, cause like, and they're selling themselves like that, bro. What the fuck? The family from 1982 to 1994. According to the family's official history, the group had far fewer common standards of conduct during the family of love stage than it had previously. In the late 1980s, the group tightened its standards to ensure that all members' communities provided a very wholesome environment for all, particularly the children, and changed its name to just the family. In March 1989, the family issued a statement that in early 1985, an urgent memorandum had been sent to all members, reminding them that any such activities involving adult and children are strictly forbidden within our group, and such activities were grounds for immediate excommunication from the entire group. In January 2005, Claire Borwick, a spokesperson for the family, stated that, due to the fact that our current zero tolerance policy regarding sexual interactions between adults and underage minors was not in our literature published before 1986, we came to the realization that during a transitional stage of our movement, from 1978 until 1986, there were cases for when some minors were subject to sexually inappropriate advances. This was corrected officially in 1986 when any contact between any adult and minor was basically declared as an excommunicable offense. They kind of knew this stuff was going on, but since it wasn't written into their rules before 1986, they figured, all right, we're going to let all that stuff slide, and anything 1986 and beyond, if you get caught doing this stuff, you're excommunicated, you're out of the family. But it's like, bro, you knew this shit was going on for like that whole time in between, and you're just like, bro, fuck it. It wasn't written in the rules then. It don't matter. You know what I mean? Like, bro, this isn't a terms and condition type shit. In the early 1990s, the group broke years of virtual silence and began inviting reporters and religious scholars to visit its commune in La Habra, California, where at least a Washington Post journalist named Gustav found its members to be a clean-cut bunch, friendly and courteous. At the time, the family claimed to have about 9,000 members worldwide, with about 750 scattered across the United States. The group emphasized its mainstream Christian opposition to abortion, homosexuality, drugs, and drunkenness in its respect for Rev. Billy Graham. After Berg's death in October 1994, Karen Zerbe, known to the group as Mama Maria, Queen Maria, Maria David, or Maria Fontaine, assumed leadership of the group. In the 1995 British court case, the Lord Justice Alan Ward ruled that the group, including some of its top leaders, had in the past engaged in abusive sexual practices, including minors, and also severe corporal punishment and sequestration of minors. He found that by 1995, the family had abandoned these practices and concluded that they were a safe environment for children. Nevertheless, he did require that the group cease all corporal punishment of children in the United Kingdom and denounce any of Berg's writings that were responsible for children in the family having been subjected to the sexually inappropriate behavior to begin with, which was my whole thing. He basically brought this upon himself with his oown rules and then started to bitch about it when he got called out. Like, I don't know. To me, that's some bitch shit. Like, I don't know. The Family International from 2004 until now. The Love Charter is the family's set governing document that entails each member's rights, responsibilities, and requirements, while the missionary member statutes and fellow member statutes were written for the governance of the family's missionary member and fellowship member circles, respectively. So they have different guidelines, I guess. The family's homes were reviewed every 6 months against the published set of criteria, and the Love Charter increased the number of single-family homes as well as homes that relied on jobs such as self-employment. And honestly, other than that, they're basically just still doing the exact same thing. Like, they just got members all over the world. I'm not really too sure on what they're doing today. Most of what's known today is basically what was known in the 2003. Like, they're still doing the exact same thing. They just switched up the name to the Family International instead of the Family because now they're internationally recognized. I guess they have mad members. Apparently, if you're part of the family, let me know. Like, you feel me? I'm not gonna really believe you, but maybe if you could show me some proof, that would be fire. Like, I don't know. I don't really want to, you feel me? If it's too traumatic for you, hey, cuz, listen, don't hit me up. I don't want to bring that out of you. But if you was in there and you was like, yo, that shit was crazy, let me know. Anyways, now we're going to talk about David Berg himself and what he was all about, why this even started. David Brandt Berg, also known as King David, was the founder and leader of the cult generally known as the Children of God. Berg was born on February 18, 1919 in Oakland, California. During his early years, he usually lived around Florida, and he was the youngest of 3 children born to Yalmer Emanuel Berg and Virginia Lee Brandt. Berg spent his early years traveling with his parents who pursued their evangelical mission. In 1924, they settled in Miami, Florida after Virginia successfully led a series of large revivals at the Miami Gospel Tabernacle. This became Berg's home for the next 14 years, while his mother and father were pastors at a number of Miami churches. The Berg family depended entirely on the generosity of their parishioners for their support and often had difficulty making ends meet. This instilled in Berg a lifelong habit of frugality, which he encouraged his followers to also adopt. Like his father, Berg became a minister in the Christian and Missionary Alliance in the late 1940s and was placed at Valley Farms in Arizona. Berg was eventually expelled from the organization for differences in teachings and for alleged sexual misconduct with a church employee. In Berg's writings, he claimed the expulsion was due to his support for the greater racial diversity among his congregation. Berg and his family founded the organization Teams for Christ, operating out of the Light Club Coffee House in Huntington Beach, California in 1968. Berg lived in seclusion while leading Children of God, communicating with his followers and the public via nearly 3,000 Mo letters. Berg's letters encouraged the reader to love the sinner but hate the sin. His writings were often extreme and uncompromising in their denunciation of what he believed to be as evil, such as mainstream churches, pedophilia laws, capitalism, and Jews. Berg married his first wife, Jane Miller, known as Mother Eve in the Children of God, on July 22nd in 1944 in Glendale, California, and they had 4 children. Berg married his second wife, Karen Zerbe, in 1970. Berg informally adopted Ricky Rodriguez, who was Zerbe's son. In the 1970s and 80s, sexually suggestive photographic depictions of Rodriguez with adult caretakers were disseminated throughout the group by Berg and Zerbe in a child-bearing handbook known as The Story of Davito. Yeah, so, I mean, I don't know. There's not much to say. Like, not only is David Berg a fucking horrible person, but his second wife, Karen Zerbe, is arguably worse, honestly. I mean, you basically let this man take care of your kid, and then these photos came out, I mean, years after, and you can only guess what happened because of the photos even existing. And we're about to get to what happened because these photos were taken and were basically sent out to everybody among the group in a fucking handbook, bro. Like, oh my god, like, I don't know. Like, some people just do not deserve kids. Karen Zerbe is one of those fucking people. Like, she is a horrible human. I don't even know what else to say. I mean, I don't know, bro. Shit's just fucked up. In January 2005, Ricky Rodriguez murdered one of the female caretakers shown in the handbook before taking his own life several hours later. Berg, who had been in hiding since 1971, died in November 1994 in Portugal. He was buried in Costa de Caprica and his remains were cremated. After his death in 1994, his wife led the family, and there were 6,000 adults and 3,000 children as members of the family worldwide. In 50 countries, there were investigations of the family for child abuse and prostitution in Argentina, France, Spain, Australia, Venezuela, and a couple more countries. Like, basically, they were being investigated all over the world because of their terrible practices, alright? Now, next section, we're about to get to some of those criticisms and obviously some of those charges and everything that was coming out against them. The family has been found liable in a British court and also criticized by the press and the anti-cult movement. Ex-members have been accusing the family leadership of following a policy of lying to outsiders, being steeped in a history of sexual deviance, and even meddling in the third world politics. The family replies that it is a victim of persecution. Allegations of abuse and mistreatment have been publicly expressed by some who have left the group. Examples include Celeste Jones, Christina Jones, and Juliana Boering, who basically all spent a good amount of their lives inside the family. In 1971, an organization called Free COG was founded by concerned parents and others, including deprogrammer Ted Patrick, to free members of the COG from their involvement with the group. At least one individual growing up in the family during the Children of God era described being sexually abused from the age of 4 by members of the cult, including her own father. She blames the philosophy of David Berg, who told members that God was love and love was sex, so that sex should not be limited by age or relationship. Carter also complains of being repeatedly beaten and whipped for the smallest amount of transgressions, being denied music or television or culture, or any contact with anyone in the outside world. She had no idea how the world worked and how basically she was manipulated by people in the cult into thinking that people outside of the cult are just going to manipulate her. So yeah, she had it fucked. Like honestly, that is downright a fucking shit existence. I'm glad she got out of that now, but damn, I'm sorry you had to go through that, cause like that shit's ass. Author Don Lattin interviewed numerous members of the family for his book, Jesus Freak. In a review of his book, Paul Barganio describes Berg as drawing from the remnants of hippie life. People with nothing to lose, nowhere to go, and no Christian background to alert them to deviations in Berg's preaching. One ex-Children of God member, Jeremy Golan, describes himself at the time of joining the group as penniless and so depressed that Children of God scraped him off the streets. Members would learn to spot basically a victim, a vulnerable person, and would call them sheep. Golan told the CBC, or the Canadian news basically, pressure to raise money could also be intense. Golan said that members who were good at raising money and distributing the pamphlets were called the shiners. Those with poor sales were called the shamers. If you missed your quota, you could not come home for dinner, he said. So you were even being forced to basically spread this religion. I mean, I know when the Jehovah's Witnesses knock on my door, cuz I'm not gonna lie, bro, I just shut that motherfucker right close. Anyways, now we're gonna go into some notable members that you might have heard of. I've only heard of a couple of these people. First off is Jeremy Spencer. He is a founding member of the band Fleetwood Mac and joined as an adult after leaving Fleetwood Mac in 1971. So I've never really listened to Fleetwood Mac's music. I know I've heard that band name, which is why I added him to this list. But the weird part about him is that he went out of his way to join after he'd already been in the band, after all that shit. Like, this guy was a full-grown man and he went and joined up with them. Like, I don't know, that's raising some huge ass red flags for me, to be real with you. And last up for the notable members, we have River Phoenix, Joaquin Phoenix, Rain Phoenix, Liberty Phoenix, and Summer Phoenix. Basically, they were members of the group from 1972 to 1978. River Phoenix, who died of a drug overdose in 1993, told Details magazine in November of 1991 that they were ruining people's lives. And all of them, the whole family, they were actually like kind of brought into it as kids, and they were raised in the Children of God, and all of them eventually left, which is good. Like I said, I think River Phoenix is the kid from Stand By Me. If you've ever seen that movie, goated movie, first off. But if you've ever seen him, that's the kid right there. Like, that little badass kid that steals the gun from his brother. Fire. Anyways, that was all of Children of God, the family of love, whatever you want to call it. When I first found this family, bro, I thought this was gonna be like some Mankind, Dude Love type of like hippy dippy shit, and then it's not like that at all, bro. That shit was fucking garbage. Honestly, like, these people are fucking scumbags. Bro, please be aware if you're joining a cult. Like, I don't know, it is modern day, modern ages, and there are still a lot of cults, around 10,000 still active. Still thinking about doing a video on a couple more of them, but yeah, come on, bro. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you should know the signs. Look out for the signs. Don't fall for this bullshit, bro. Anyways, stay safe, stay dangerous. I've been talking long enough. I am sick of this. And yeah, I'll catch y'all later. Deuces.
In a world where circumstances can change drastically from one day to the next, there's one thing that will never become outdated: the need to love and be loved.
Certified pedestal.